Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another show of the Loan Officer Experience podcast. We certainly appreciate you being here. We're going to jump right in. Today, we're diving into a conversation that every loan officer needs to hear, especially if you felt stuck, maybe you felt capped, um, maybe you felt like you're building someone else's business or their empire instead of your own. Well, my guest, Megan Marsh, she's the co-founder of Collab Broker Concierge and straight up powerhouse when it comes to helping mortgage pros build their business, build wealth, and most importantly, build ownership. She recently wrote an article, Branch versus Ownership. It took me by surprise. I thought all of my thoughts wrapped up into one article. It was absolutely amazing and something that you should certainly read. It shook up the industry. And so without further ado, Megan, welcome to the Loan Officer Experience Podcast.
Thank you for having me. This is going to be fun. You and I, we're
Oh,
talkers.
man. So if you guys don't know, Megan and I go way back. I don't know how many years it's been, Megan, but if I was guessing, I would
Over
say
10.
between 15 plus years, right?
Yes.
And I feel like we've kind of grown up in the business together. We've made mistakes. We've both been on the broker side, and then we both gone to the retail side to both come back to the broker side, right?
Yes.
And anyway, but to the point I was making just a moment ago, it's so interesting to me that when you wrote this article, I thought this is everything that I wanted to say or have felt or thought, but I just couldn't really put into words. And I was just telling Megan before we started, Megan, you're one of the smartest people I know in this business. Almost so smart that the
If
rest
my
of us can't
parents could
comprehend.
hear this right now, I might have to play it
Yes.
for them because the thing that I get made fun of from growing up was not for being the smartest.
Well, it's just I feel like the rest of us are just trying to keep up, and so Megan is just a wealth of knowledge. So I want to get started first by saying, you know, there there are a lot of loan officers out there who think that the branch life is it's either safer, um, and and then there's another side that not many LOs out there are manager material. They don't know how to manage or market or even do compliance for that matter. And so when I look at the numbers, it tells me a different story. Can you share with me a little bit about what that means, right? Because I think that you and I've had enough conversations to know that, when I see these branch models that are out there, and listen, I'm not talking ugly about retail branch models. I'm not talking about broker branch models where you're a loan officer working for one of the groups out there that may do a per file fee, right? And then you just kind of plug into their processes and systems and go on about your business. There's a lot of models out there. And so, what are your thoughts around that initial question? What do you think when you hear that question?
Yeah. And, for anybody listening, when you and I met, Ken, I was in the industry in like this small town brokerage, my first like number of years. I didn't understand what was out there, right? And then your eyes start opening up as a loan officer, and you start hearing about other models you can plug into. And I feel like, right, our industry is getting really complex with like where you can go work. And these branch models, it's been common in retail. I feel like the broker space has started really developing different branch structures, and it's giving loan officers a lot to think about. And the challenge to anyone who is going to listen to this podcast, I would say, is I feel like we as an industry and we as loan officers, we're not always focusing on the right stuff. We're not thinking through things. And we really need to take a step back and look at our business, because I didn't realize the things that people thought, right? And about this whole branch thing. Like, people will say to me when I, start talking to them about, hey, would you ever want to own your own? Oh, I own my own branch. I'm like, what? And they're like, I own my branch. I'm like, you don't own anything. What are you talking about? And I think there's people out there that really believe they own their business. And the thing, to keep it as simple as possible for anyone listening, unless you own the company license, not your LO license, not the branch license, unless you own the company, license. You do not own anything. Someone else owns what you've built, and they will sell it one day and they will get paid for it. And I know that because I've gotten paid for brokerages that I've built. And I'm happy to explain that to anyone because it was an eye-opening experience when I sold 5% of my company and walked away with a check for almost $60,000. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why are LOs taking sign-on bonuses and not just understanding what they own already?
Yeah. I think that there's a reality and a legality. The legality is that you don't own it. Someone else does. The reality is that you may own the relationships and the people that you've done business with over the years, but so does the company that you represent and that you're hanging your hat on. And so I think a lot of loan officers would make that argument that, well, I still own the relationships, but man, I tell you, I've left retail and I've lost business because they kept my database of people, even though I had that same information, and they marketed the heck out of them. And I know that I lost business. I know for certain that I did. And
Yeah.
so that's a real reality. Well, in your article, you mentioned the idea of false freedom. Okay. What does
Yeah.
that look like for a typical retail loan officer, for example?
I think so. False freedom is a lot of times it's the language, right? I hear people in our industry call it like smoke and mirrors. Like people will tell you the things that how your life's going to get better, how you're going to make more money, how you're going to have more control, right?
Mhm.
But like you just said, unless you own the company license, anything that you are told, promised, even if it's true up front, can be taken from you. And I think that's been something that's been really surprising and sad for me to experience is meeting people in our space who have worked, let's say, for big retail. They've built not just branches, but regions. And then something changes or they don't get along with someone, let's say up, in at the top of the company, and everything that they built is taken from them. And they walk away from something that is worth so much, because they trusted someone. And you've been in that space. You've been in retail where you've built something, right? And I talked to way too many people who are 20 years plus in their career walking away from
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. I've done it twice, unfortunately. And I can tell you that, I think that the branch life gives us this false sense of leadership, coaching, processing, underwriting, um, playbooks, things that are probably necessary for a lot of newer loan officers, but not seasoned loan officers. And I remember walking away from my retail operation. I had 29 loan officers. And when I walked away, almost all of them stayed. A few left with me, but not very many. And it wasn't because I couldn't poach, right? Like contracts are written, very strictly, and you have to be careful in that way. But I don't know. I just think that there's just a false sense of security in that regard. However, I do think
Correct.
that that model's great for a lot of people, but not every. But at the same time, I think that people mostly loan officers mostly they don't calculate or measure it accurately in terms of what it's costing them to have these tools and or resources. And I think it's a lot easier for people. Let's just do this. Let's just talk dollars, right? For someone producing, let's just say between 20 and 50 million as an example, per year in production. How much
Yep.
do you think potentially that they're leaving on the table staying in a branch type model?
Well, I actually have hard numbers because I have
Oh,
some case
perfect.
studies. Yeah. So, and there's three parts to this. Okay. There's three
All
parts
right.
to this
All right.
that everyone doesn't think through. Their number one is, do you, Ken, what do you think the biggest expense, all of us, every single person in the United States, what is the biggest expense we pay
As a loan officer
as a
or
US
just a
citizen?
person, taxes. All
Taxes.
right.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay. And if you're ever looking at comparing
Yes.
different models, is it ever factored in the taxes that you can save?
Wow.
Okay. I was an account,
Yes.
so I went to school for accounting. Here's simple math. I just made a video for my YouTube channel. Somebody who earns 200,000, if it was apples to apples, which it isn't, if somebody who makes 200,000 W-2 200 and somebody who's a business owner and makes 200,000 because of all the, I won't nerd out and say all the things that you get to use and do, right? But
Right.
the W-2 employee is paying about 51,000 in taxes. The business owner is paying about 34,000 if they do it the right way. Okay.
Yep.
And that's without even like really getting good at it, which is where I think so you will save so much because you can, right? You earn money, pay
Mm.
expenses, then you pay taxes versus you earn money, you pay taxes, then you pay expenses. Like it's the flow of money. It's why our tax code favors business owners. So that's number one. You're leaving money on the table right there. Number two is like you said, which is what everybody thinks about. How much am I leaving on the table versus what I'm getting paid, right? And so I took two of our brokers who were in retail and earning traditional retail comp structures. Okay.
Sure.
And one of the loan officers, as an example, this is just 1 month of production. This was May production, where they closed about 5 million. If they were still in retail, they would have made 64,000 that month. As a broker owner, after paying our support, the cost that they pay us to support us, they are making about 150,000.
Wow. It's a huge
Now,
difference.
there's some expenses still, but there is not 90,000 in
Mhm.
expenses in 1 month for this broker.
Right. Yeah. I can relate to that in so many ways. Like it's a real reality and you don't really see it until you've experienced it a lot of times. And I'll go back to the taxes first. What the last 2 years I was in retail, Megan, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not making this up. I can show people, right? I paid over 250,000 one year in taxes and then 280,000 the next year. I was sick to my stomach.
Yeah, because you
I
and
was
you can't do
yes,
things with your money
right.
like I'm almost nervous, not nervous to talk about it. Like
Yeah.
my car's owned by my business, right? Like you start doing the math, guys. Pre-tax is a lot
Yeah.
less than paying post-tax. My car's owned by the business. I have people who help me personally as an assistant that also do work for the office. There's just so many things that you can do when you own a business that adds
Yeah.
up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not even part of what everybody talks about. The
Yeah.
third thing about leaving money on the table, which I didn't realize this, I looked it up in the last year. So it's very common for us as loan officers. What do we tell people who rent? What is the lesson we try to teach home people who we think should become homeowners?
Well, the lesson is you're throwing away your money. You're paying 100% interest in rent because you don't get anything back for it. So you're just kind of throwing money
Yeah.
away.
And I used to use it. You'd look it up. There are actual studies done that like right, somebody who it rents, their net worth is like what, 9,000. Somebody
Sure.
who owns and has equity, it's closer to like 90,000, I think it is, right?
Right.
So I challenge anyone, do the same type
Mhm.
of search and put in what is the average net worth of a W-2, even high earning W-2 employees
Right.
versus business owners. The average net worth of a W-2 employee is 92,000 because it's probably that homeowner. The
Yep.
average net worth of a business owner is 1.2 million. It's
Right.
because of business equity. It's because you are building something and utilizing something that helps you financially create financial freedom.
Right. And, we can sit here and argue about why it is the way that it is now. And it all goes back to Dodd-Frank and, just LO comp and all the things that have changed over the years that you and I both have experienced and lived through.
Mhm.
And you're right. It's like you get so many benefits of being a business owner just from a tax code perspective that saves us a ton of money. Yes, you're giving up, well, you think you're giving up all of these tools and resources and foundation, but it's a lot less expensive to either hire someone to do it, right? Or plug into something that's already in existence, right? I would argue that till I was purple in the face because I've just lived through it too many times.
Yeah, and I'm not
For
gonna
me.
lie either about that. Like, you said this after, I think when I first had written my course, like, when you open a brokerage, it has been hard, right? Like, It has been hard. I'm going to be honest to everyone listening. Like, that's why I stepped out of originating 300 loans a year to do what I do now, because I was so tired of it being hard and not having resources and a way to just make it easy. And so business ownership is not easy, right? But it can be easy if you lean on the right people and support systems, and you use you use what you have to skip the stupid tax, right? Like, that's what I wish
Mhm.
I had 10 years ago, was I had somebody who would have pointed me in the right direction. And the broker space now is developing so many more things that I think, I hope that our industry will continue to have more people flowing over from retail to where it's back to the 50-50 of us are in wholesale, 50% are in retail.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many. I mean, if you just do the numbers and that's not even measuring how much more you will capture in business, right? Just because
Mhm.
you're more competitive, making more money. It almost seems like it's a lie. It almost seems untrue, but it's not. But let me ask this question. So what's the biggest
Yeah.
blind spots that you see in loan officers who want ownership but never make the move? What's actually keeping them stuck from moving forward?
If I'm being honest, it's fear.
Mhm.
I think it's
Right.
fear of rocking the boat, because I call it now the pregnancy test. It's really hard sometimes to make tough decisions. You don't want to rock the boat. If you came from a
Right.
job that you weren't making a lot, now you're a loan officer, you're making so much money. Why would you ever want to mess that up? Like, you want to like tiptoe around and not, you don't want to rock the boat and mess that up. Uh, how I ended up becoming a broker owner, because I didn't think of it. My husband had started a business. I thought, as the man in our family, which I can't even believe I'm saying that right now. I never thought about starting my brokerage. Well, I got fired because I got in an argument with the owner of one of my companies, and I'm like, I don't want to work for someone again. I opened a business and now I own like 8 businesses. Like, I think all of us, we're satisfied, and then we don't think about it, or we hear things and maybe we hear the wrong things. We listen to the wrong people who tell
Yep.
us it's hard, right? And it's like this fear thing. But I think more and more people are waking up, and I think more people, as they see other people can do it, I
Mhm.
I hope they will do it, because I mean, most businesses, if you like, Ken, if I told you you can go open a business, like in 3 months, you're going to open a business, you got to pick. It's going to be a furniture store, restaurant, right? Like, totally different business. Like, what is your biggest concern if you're going to open a restaurant or a furniture store or any type of business? Like, what are you worried about happening initially?
For me, I think it just not knowing what I don't know and having blind spots, and I'd just be afraid of not knowing, that industry. I mean, that's what I think of initially.
Would you have enough customers coming in the door?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know,
Like, when
but
I think of people opening businesses, loan officers are set up for entrepreneurship. Like, we already did the hard part of getting business, like
I see your
broker
point. Yeah.
owners. Yeah,
Yep.
they open and they have like, you have revenue coming in the door within 90
Mhm.
days, and a lot of revenue. Like, what business owners have that opportunity?
Well, because it's a good point because we eat what we kill. Like, whether you're an employee or, you know, independently working on you're still self-employed, right? Because
That's
yeah, so you're still self-employed, so why not have the benefits of being self-employed?
correct. Like, we already did the stuff a lot of business owners had to do
Yeah.
while we were employees. So you've already
Mhm.
set yourself up in such a great spot. You just need to connect with someone who, I think the other blind spot is our industry. I think that
Mhm.
there are, we all know of people and situations where someone would eat their family members, right? So you don't know who to trust and who's telling you the truth. And it makes me sad when I hear people say that.
Yeah.
And so I think creating more
Yeah.
transparency in this industry is going to be important for people to trust that they can do it.
Yeah. I think that's, kind of leads into my next question. I think that's a great point. So there's a perception perception that ownership equals chaos. What kind of infrastructure is actually available in today's industry, right? To help LOs go independent without reinventing the wheel or having to learn it as they go. What's available?
Yeah, so I would say there is some truth to that in the past, and that's something I have to get over now with the companies that we built is ownership did mean chaos before. You know, a loan officer, like any business out there has, I call it there's three pillars in a business. You've got get customers, marketing and sales,
Mhm.
service those customers, that's in the pipeline, processing, and then you have the third pillar is operations. Most of us as LOs, we've never had to do the operation side. And that's the part that scares us, right? That gets chaotic, or we spend too much time on it because we're afraid and then we're not selling as much, right? Like that's what's happened in the past. And when I opened my brokerage, there weren't even licensing companies or a compliance company. Like there was nothing. I was Googling things. Like
Yep.
it was crazy, right? Well, now it's different. Like there's Facebook groups where you can ask questions. Not saying that that will help you open a brokerage. You'll get some feedback. Yeah, you could probably talk to someone for 30 minutes, but y- if you want to open a brokerage and be very profitable within the first year or two, which is hard to do in any business, you need to be willing to invest some money into your capacity to know more. Learn from other that's like coaching, right? When my business exploded where we met, I paid for coaching. That coaching was on how to increase my production. It taught me, I mean, it didn't even teach me things that was rocket science, right? It's a lot of times it's simple things or it's somebody pushing you to do something that is uncomfortable otherwise. And so loan officers now, there are, yes, there's wholesale lenders. They'll give you a checklist. They'll answer your questions. You can do that. Doesn't help you figure out how to operate your business. You could, number two, you could go into a model where you own the license, you own, right? There are a couple franchise models that you can go into. Number two, you could go look for a business partner. I know a lot of people that say buy a business, don't start and create the wheel because it takes a long time and you'll make like why make those mistakes?
Yeah.
Go into something because like you said to me, it doesn't matter. If you don't pay for something up front, you're going to pay for it later. And it's
That's it.
so true.
Yeah. You bring back some memories. And I remember when you left the broker world and went retail.
I
And I
don't know what
remember
you're talking
I
about.
I literally remember the look on your face when it wasn't working out. I do. I remember like it was yesterday. I remember just the disappointment and you were like, KT, I'm going back. Like I can't do this. What point I want to make is this. When I was a broker, I was a broker for 9 years, maybe 10. And then I jumped to retail. And I was the last of the Mohicans, man. I was stayed back when everyone left,
Mm,
everyone went to retail. And I felt like, man, I felt like the CFPB scared you or retail scared you into retail, and leveraged the CFPB. We all, it was new territories, new grounds. We didn't know, we all thought we were going to be shut down. But this is what I want you to know about the broker world then. I remember having several different investors that we would send business to. We had 5 different processes and 5 different companies that had 5 different overlays. And it was just complicated. It was harder. It was a very difficult world. In the retail, you kind of go with a crowd sometimes and you start plugging into retail because it was simpler and it was easier. They weren't, they didn't have the same rules. And, there's an argument to be made that, yeah, you could make more money, you know, but you also had to sell higher rates. But this is the difference today. And no one talks about it. Technology has come so far that I feel like that in the broker community, I have more options, more opportunity, and things are so much easier, like
yeah, they are.
simpler, and you have more control over how you can move and shake, regardless of how you plug into the broker community, you still have more options and more ability. You have more, ability to move and to make things happen. Would you
It,
would you agree with that?
yes. I mean, it is very rare that I talk to somebody who switched like, and it happens on both sides. Like there are,
Yeah, for
I
sure.
definitely know, I would say people who switch from retail to broker, depending. I see people who jump from retail to broker and they go into, maybe it's like a branch model where they thought the branch would be similar and it's not. So then they jump back into retail, right? But there's also broker owners who didn't have support or systems, and they'll close their brokerage up and then they'll go into either branch or retail, right? So it happens on both sides, but it's I find it very rare that somebody jumps from retail to broker. It's just finding their place in the broker space, because once you get that taste of the broker side, you do have more control. And I do think that it's something that all of us want. I know it was why I got fired. Like when my loans weren't getting processed and I wanted to find a solution and the person in charge didn't want to listen to my solutions. I think it's why loan officers switch companies every 3 to 4 years, because they get frustrated. They don't have control over the solution. And so they just go somewhere else where they're not going to have control again,
Yeah.
instead of right
So
putting
true.
themselves in a position where they're in control. Like it's not, no, it's nothing's ever perfect. But I have realized, at least in my career, I would rather make a bad decision or fall on my face, but it's my decision, than be in a situation where I have no control and somebody else is making decisions for me.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
that's what it's come down to for me. I am happier as a loan officer, as a mother, as a wife. I just
Mhm.
it's like this thing where I feel like I am in control of my life. And I think for loan officers, one more thing that, because I talk to a lot of people, and when you're looking at where you want to go or what you want to do, I think it's natural to first start looking at where you're going to make the most money, where you're going to get paid, right? First of all,
Yeah.
if that's what you're looking at, owning you'll make the most. Like no one can argue. You will make the most money. You get all the commission checks. It's just how good are you going to be at managing it? That's it. That's the game.
That's it.
If you don't want to do that piece, then you need to think and ask yourself the right questions. Because at first you think it's money, but then when you really dig down, and our industry doesn't do a good job of this, other industries do. When I was going to be an accountant from year one, do you want to be a partner one day? We're going to have you, shadow this partner. Like where do you want to be in 10 years? We need to think about that as loan officers, and we don't do it. Like we think about tomorrow. It's like we all we see ourselves as, because we've been treated that way, I think, is our value sits in single person origination, right? But if
Yeah.
you have a goal of having more time freedom, of maybe opening and having another income stream, of leading a team one day, you need to think what you want down the road and then start making decisions that start like pointing you that way.
Yeah. I love it.
I mean, right? Like from coming from someone who has
Man.
worked, right? And then
Yeah.
built a team, had loan officers, and now has stepped out of origination. And I'm still in the industry.
Yeah.
You have to start pointing yourself along the path of where you want to go, or you'll find yourself 5 years away from being retired, doing something you don't want to do, being grumpy and not knowing what to do.
Hmm. Knowing what I know today, looking back, one of the biggest regrets that I've had in this industry is leaving the broker community, even as bad
Mhm.
as it was. If I'd just sheltered that storm a little bit longer, maybe just 2 or 3 more years, it would have been okay, you
It
know?
would have.
And I gave up so much, man.
You do.
Um, and anyway, so not to, beat a dead horse in that regard, but, you know, to each their own, right?
But it's
But
control, because
it is.
anytime you let somewhere that you weren't in control, it was ugly. You lose stuff, right?
Oh
But
my gosh.
but
Yes.
I've owned 3 brokerages, and every time I went somewhere else when I owned those brokerages, it was so easy. I could do whatever, like I closed those loans out, I could move them to a different location. I didn't lose any of the money. Once again,
Yep.
you're in control.
You're
Like
in control.
put yourself in control and then get the help you need. They're like I said, there are services now that do it. Our broker concierge is literally, it's a back office for mortgage brokers. We took our ops team that was a kick-ass operations team that managed the operations of a growing brokerage. They now all work over in a separate company and they help multiple brokers, and we are multiplying that team so that other brokers don't have to
Yep.
go hire someone, train someone. They can just plug in on the stuff you don't make money on, but
Yep.
that you have to do.
Yeah. I get that. I was going to make a point too. And I left retail one time from one retail to the other. I lost 120K. That was painful. And
Yeah, how about
that's that,
and
that really,
legal
yeah.
fees too? I bet you there's a lot of LOs who have incurred legal fees because retail companies
Yes.
have big
Yeah. That
legal
wouldn't count
teams,
my legal fees. Yeah. Yeah.
and
It's
they
a really
sling
170.
fun stuff at you.
I know it. It's terrible. So you have helped build and help people scale. What do you think, you know, people that are top producers, right? These high performers, they're leaving retail, going to independent, broker shops.
Mhm.
What is it that you think that, like, what do you think about that? Is it's happening? Like, what
Yeah.
are your thoughts around that?
I think that they know that they should go somewhere. So what I'm hearing and seeing happen a lot is if you become a top producer, you do bring a lot of value to your company. But then if you go, you start kind of testing and feeling. I spoke to someone this week and this LO who runs an incredible business. It's so interesting the way people bring business in. And so this person went to the leadership team at they are at a mid-size mortgage company to say, "Hey, I really want to be part of, you know, this company. Can I buy some equity just a little bit?"
Mhm.
That's where the problem lies because as loan officers, once again, we're seen for the value of our origination, right? We're not getting invited to the table. We're not having we aren't seen as the people who should be able to make decisions and have opportunities like that in the eyes sometimes of the people who are in charge. And that's what hurts some loan officers and I think makes them start looking outside of it. Um, I've heard it a number of times. And if you are listening to this and like that's a great test. Go talk to the people. If you
Mhm.
are not seen for that value, you need to go elsewhere. That's your whole career trajectory and building something or being part of something that you can build, right? Um, don't just settle. Like take some time and really think through what's going to be best for you and how to keep growing and building equity for yourself, for your family. I mean, the amount of lives you can impact in your local communities through the people you hire is incredible too
What
when
do
you
you
own a
think
local
is
brokerage.
right? What do you think what are people what are loan officers missing in terms of like, is there something in the retail world that they're not going to get in the broker world?
Is there something they're getting in retail that they won't get?
Yeah.
Is it
Is there something that they're not going to get if they were in the broker world? I'm just curious. Like, is there anything that retail has that the broker world doesn't
I
have?
mean, I think some the ability to have everything in one place, like right, like a back end ops where you can just reach out to
Mhm.
um I would say that's one thing is for most people. Um, there is some ease in the retail world that there's this back office.
Mhm.
You don't have to think or you don't have to call three people to find them. It's
Right.
just there. You've got the help,
But you're
right? And
stuck with that one answer. But you're stuck with that one answer.
true, very true.
Yeah.
I
But I
agree,
do see
right?
the simplicity in it. But that's what I love about some of the lender partners that we have in the broker world is they've gotten so good at that back end that I feel like I have, 5 or 6 excellent back ends and I can just pick whichever one I want to plug into for that particular loan. Does that make
Correct. And
sense?
they should close
Yeah.
more for that. If I had to say there's
Yeah.
one product that you could lose
Mhm.
going from retail to broker, the one that I've seen or heard is your bond programs.
Right.
That's something we're working on in the wholesale channel, and each state is
Yeah.
trying to address that. But that would be
Mhm.
one product. Now, I think there's a lot of other
Well, I
products you
think
can.
there's 99 more you gain, in that regard.
I
Yeah.
was
But I
on
have
with.
noticed. Yeah, but you said it right. Like some of these lender partners, they've really started plugging into these down payment assistance programs. And so there's a couple of investors out there. Once identify them, pretty much in every state, someone's going to have it. You just have to go find them. But other than that, you're right. It's a little bit outside the box in that regard. Something that we haven't gotten great at, but it's definitely getting better. But
Well,
let's
and
flip
can
it.
I
Go
say
ahead.
one thing on that? So the
Mhm.
guys we brought over from retail, that's the biggest thing, because a lot of times in retail, like your company opts into, like, let's just use as an example DSCR products, right? So you're like, well I
Mm.
got DSCR, or I can broker, right?
Yeah.
But then once they come over, they're like, I didn't understand the depths
Yes.
of the options, meaning, okay, you might have had a DSCR option, but that DSCR doesn't allow for first time investors, right? Or something,
Mhm.
right? Whereas in the
Right.
broker space, you have a lender who does first time investors. You have a lender who lets you use gift of equity. You have a lender who will go down to, like, there is,
Mhm.
it's very hard not to solve
Yeah.
a, like, you, and that's where you start working smarter, not harder in the broker
That's
space.
it.
You
Yep.
convert more of the leads that come in through the solutions you have.
Yeah. Well, that's such a great point. And I didn't learn that until probably this year. Like really, not that I didn't know it. I just didn't know how big of a deal that really was when you start. And I'll give you an example. Cake Mortgage, right? Cake is
Yep.
a non-QM lender. They do A paper stuff too, but they do Alt-A and non-QM. And man, these guys are amazing, right?
Yep.
They have 12 bank statement loans. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. And of course, they have a funny theme, it's cake and they have like truffle cake, strawberry cake,
Carrot cake. Yeah. No,
carrot
I
cake.
know.
You have heard, and I thought, man, these big guys are jokers, right? Like this can't be real. And then of course I heard the story about the owner had a bad mortgage experience. He wanted to make the mortgage process a piece of cake. And so that's how he named Cake Mortgage and blah, blah, blah. So it's
I
kind of
like
a cool
that.
story. But they got 12 different bank statement programs. And bank statement programs in my world are not the same bank statement programs that many of the retail lenders have because like they may not allow declining income where one of these 12 with this one lender will,
Yeah.
and they just look at it and they measure it differently depending on the circumstances of the client. That's called opportunity. That's called options. And that's ease. It's simple, right? You just, you got to know a little bit more about where to go with stuff, but it's okay. It still works really, really well.
Yeah, and I
So
would say
let's
that's the biggest thing between retail and wholesale that people will say, for every, like, negative, there's a positive on both sides. So it's like, what do you want your life to look like and how do you want your work life to look like? And that was the biggest thing I struggled with when I went to retail. Like, I had such a hard time telling people there wasn't a solution where we were, when I knew there was,
yeah,
outside of it, from being in the industry for so
yeah,
long.
yeah.
I couldn't do it. I just could not do it.
I know it. Yeah. It's very rare that we say no, right? It's just like it's just
Mhm.
rare. Unless
It
you
is.
just have some really, really challenged credit or something. It's usually not
Yeah.
it's not no, it's how or how are we going to get it done? It's really impressive. So final round, if you could scream, Megan, from the rooftop about this industry that most loan officers still just don't understand, what do you think it'd be?
I would say for all loan officers, like, to understand that you have value beyond your origination, right? You
Yep.
have so much value beyond just the loans that you are originating right now today, and
Mm.
to not see your career as like this linear thing, but to start valuing yourself and then going to where you are invited into that conversation. It's okay if you don't choose to do it, but at least start surrounding yourself with people who will help you, you know, step into bigger things in your life and in your career. I guarantee you will be so much more fulfilled in your career.
Yeah, I agree. And you've been that person for me too, just so you know. And
Oh,
I've
good.
definitely appreciated our friendship over the years. It's been great. And I want to say this because the collab broker concierge, you guys are a part of AIME. You're a vendor
Mhm.
member. You guys have supported AIME. You've given back to the community. And I know your heart, Megan, and you just want to help people. Like you genuinely want to help people. And that's
Too.
rare. So if you're listening to this and maybe you're thinking about jumping, to the broker world, or maybe you're in the broker world and you're looking to maybe do something on your own, I'm telling you right now, Megan and Collab Broker Concierge, these guys have got it dialed in. Megan, you've helped me run my branch. You've done some things for me where
Mhm.
I literally, open up a screen on my browser and it takes everything from Arrive and it has me, it just dials in my numbers so I can see it from a 3,000-foot view. And it just makes my life a lot simpler. And it's just
Yeah.
little things like that that make all the difference. And so if somebody was wanting to seek out the services that you guys offer and really ask the right questions and get their answers, answered and help them make an informed decision. Where would someone go to get that information from you guys?
The two best places would be, we have a website that you can click to schedule a Zoom call with myself or my team. It's becomeamortgagebroker.info. So just make sure you do that .info. And then I have a YouTube channel. It's a great place to follow to get some tips. I'm very transparent on it. And I talk about real life examples, the systems that we put in place. And it's called The Lab, and the Real Estate and Mortgage Academy on YouTube. You can go follow there and you can book a time on my Zoom to meet. We help mortgage brokers, not even just starting up their business, right? But we do done for you back end support. We have a community where you can get all your compliance documents for $100 a month. And it helps plug you in, like it's just being surrounded by more people and getting access to the resources and stuff that you need. It's all the stuff that I wish I had that, right? Everyone else is starting to experience in this space so that it's easy to own a brokerage. It's easy to own a mortgage company.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I certainly appreciate you doing that. And we'll put that information in the show notes. So just check out the show notes and we'll have those links to be able to connect with Megan. And if you're listening to this and you're realizing that you've been sold the branch dream, right? And it's not your fault, guys, I promise. But it is your responsibility to start running the numbers, asking better questions, and exploring ownership that might be for you. You just never know. But I'm just, if you're, I know that when you see the numbers, you'll definitely look at this whole, process differently. So big thanks to Megan Marsh for pulling back the curtain. And if you want to see the math for yourself, let her know, reach out. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode and we
Love
will
my
see you.
spreadsheets.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Megan, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you guys on the other side.
Bye, Ken.